pleasant afternoon, everyone. I am Wella Tan, and I am glad to be your host in this breakout session. I am excited right now because it will surely be another afternoon filled with learnings and insights for all of us. We have a lineup of relevant topics that will be discussed to us by thought leaders in the field of cybersecurity. The first in our roster of speakers is from FireEye, an industry-leading security provider. Managing a large group of technical cybersecurity experts across the region, he helps organizations address evolving cyber threats by building solutions which provide better protection and insights when a breach occurs. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Vice President for Systems Engineering for Asia Pacific at FireEye, Mr. Anthony Nan.
Thank you for spending time with me. I understand you come and you want to understand how do you simplify threat detection, protection, and response. Let's take some time to run through this and figure out if there's a solution forward. Let me do a quick disclosure. All the content that's presented here are case studies that we draw from experience and is more a summary and does not represent any specific customer's work. So for a start, let's understand the threat landscape, and learning from what we observe is very important. If you look at it, the data breaches and hacks is getting more and bigger by the day. Large companies from Facebook to Microsoft, none of them are excused. They are not safe from such attempt by sophisticated threat actors. In the last 9 to 10 months, you start in December with FireEye declaring the breach and the red team 2 being stolen, which allow us to unfold the whole conspiracy behind what happened to SolarWinds. Subsequently, this whole supply chain attack and getting entrance into enterprises and corporate becomes a lure for threat actors to pursue it much more than before. You see Exelon, Dairy Farm, Microsoft, PowerSecure, Qualys all falling prey to such an attack. If you look at this few that I mentioned here and show here, you will agree with me that most of them, if not all of them, has significant investment in cybersecurity, whether it's from detection, protection, or response, yet they could not defend themselves against such attack. So how do we speed up the process so that it can be easier for us to detect all the way to protection and respond much faster than today? If I do a quick summary of what happened to each of these enterprises, you can see that the nation-state actors tend to be more sophisticated with a motivation of espionage. And many times their methods is not disclosed. It's either that the victim through the investigation could not be conclusive, or they are not at a liberty to disclose, or they do not need to disclose what actually happened. But one thing for sure is in most of these cases, we can see the impact. In SolarWinds' case, more than 18,000 companies was affected. And in Exelon, more than 100 companies were being accessed because of that. We can see also customer data being lost. We see ransom being requested for. In this case, you see that Colonial Pipeline was asked for a large ransom. They paid 4.4 million. JBS paid 11 million. And disruptions and ransom is only the start. A lot of this data get released out to the public domain, and many times the criminals use this access and information to do further criminal activity. We can see that on the ransomware, where it's becoming almost like an affiliate model where groups are sharing tools, sharing platform, working together, leveraging backdoor that's been created by other groups is becoming a prevalent trend. And this sounds an alarm for all of us that we need to speed up how we detect, protect, and respond to all these threats. So what are we really dealing with? Let me do a quick kind of high-level summary. First of all, as the threat gets more sophisticated, the attacks are complicated. It's difficult to find signals in the whole, in the haystack. You need more than a single vectors of telemetry. You can't just use a single technology or single vector to help you understand what is happening. They masquerade as a legitimate user or super user or admin so that it is difficult to detect them. you can see the threat are expanding beyond what we have in the past. With working from home as a common trend now, you see that the remote access becomes backdoor, for example, VPN, and you can see that moving to the cloud has also created a new vector for the threat actors. First, we thought that it was only the large companies, right? The large organization with money, with impact, because they have a lot of customer data. But what we see is that small, medium enterprises are not excused from this threat. Many small, medium enterprises who are hit by this ransomware becomes affected tremendously. In the Kaseya case, there's like tens and hundreds of there's a downstream customer being requested for tens of thousands of ransom. And at this point, this is only the beginning. Moving forward, what else could happen? And small, medium enterprise are in a very sensitive stage to defend for themselves with the limited resource that they have. One of the key things is you have to assume that you are breached, and it's a matter of do you know and are you not aware of it, and will it happen again? The idea that you were excused from this wave of cyber attacks and threat is almost an unbelievable situation. There will never be enough people. This is the third biggest problem we hear a lot of customers say that it's hard to find talent or to retain them. The knowledge could not be maintained in a system or written format that passed down. So every time when someone moves out, you almost have to retrain the new person. That assumes you have a way to store the information and capture it and pass it down. If not, it's even harder to ensure that the operations maintain on the same level of efficiency. The increase in alert also creates another dimensional problem. With more technology in place today than before, from web gateways to devices to IoTs, now security teams are struggling to figure out what is important and what should they deal with first. Nevertheless, there are many tools that's coming to the market, from new startup to mature product with new versions. And in many cases, when you have a team, sometimes they build their own tool. And this makes it flexible and fast when you need a tool specifically, but it also makes the whole process of managing and creating something that's standardized a challenge. Enterprises are looking at consolidation. How do they reduce vendors, reduce the stack so that they are still equally capable and competent, yet not dependent on many custom-built solutions? The solution is somewhere out there. Let me quickly move on to a few of the pointers here. First of all, what do you think we need? We need high detection efficacy. Detection efficacy allows you to identify what others couldn't. If FireEye did not detect the specific alerts or symptom in our internal network, how could we uncover the plot behind SolarWinds? And you need the intel, the correct intel, the latest intel to enrich your alerts so they can make sense out of it. Many times we need automated response and perform inline blocking. Why is this important? Inline blocking allows the system to prevent a malicious software or an actor from doing something while no one is around. That inline blocking allows you to, for example, block a callback to their C2 server and prevents any further damage. Automated response allows you to speed up some of these rudimentary activities and investigation tasks so that's easier for the analysts. You need consolidated process, management, technology, expertise. How do we create a platform that's easy for you to do this? Last but not least, your asset monitoring. Some of your assets are more important than others. You can't just hook up all your logs into a single system and say they're all equal. Fact is, none of them are equal, and some will always be more important. Are you paying attention to these important assets, or I'll call it VIP assets? And it's not just from us or FireEye, right? Gartner, from Craig and Peter, they wrote this Innovation Insight for Extended Detection Response report. It makes 2 points that I really like. First is that XDR, or Extended Detection and Response, it describes a unified security incident detection and response platform. So what it's saying here is that we need to look at responding to a threat, to a group of threat actors, as a platform approach, not a point solution, because it's no longer enough to use a single tool to help you defend against this adversary. And I feel like this is important because this allows you to look at the not just security, but the risk perspective. And your leader need to consider seriously, how does XDR play a part in your organization? Ideally, they mentioned that, it allows accurate detection and prevention, reduce your cost because it's a platform. It reduces a lot of the integration effort, faster time to value since you could be, install, get it up running and work. So that reduces a lot of delay, accurate informed detection. I think this is important because if you have sensors or controls, whatever you call it, that has high efficacy at detection, many of the alerts that come from this system will be trusted more and you're focusing on the right stuff. When you have a lot of noise, filtering through those noise, even when you bring it down to the few alert that matters, how do you know they're correct? And there's still a certain sanity check that's required that makes it hard for you to make good judgment call. Your platform that you are looking for has to be adaptable to the change. As same customer uses different products, different standards, and when they try to make it work for tomorrow's problem, it becomes a real challenge. That will reduce your blind spot and gives you better remediation turnaround times, which leverages the automation that comes together, not just building things together. Gives you visibility and searchability. I like to talk about this from a single view of different environment that matters to you. For example, if I put it all into one place, from IT and potentially the OT, and maybe even to cloud, then it's easy for me to correlate and triage if the attacker came in from a VPN or from a thumb drive or from my cloud, because they're all in one place. The worst is when you have multiple data lakes that collects all this information and you can't decide where they come from. And the future of XDR is now. This is an article that's written by Dave, Grabo, and John. I think the way they position it come across even clearer. Threat detection response based on point tools and manual process is no longer adequate. You can't look at, say, the top Global 2000 or Fortune 500. We're talking about every organization that faces the same problem. The single firewall they buy 3 years ago and the proxy they buy yesterday, how do we make them work together, including the endpoint, EDR, so on and so forth. And XDR as a construct, as an architecture, has the opportunity to overcome this and address the challenges that the industry is facing. It also says that 24% of many security professionals are not very familiar, or they say they are very familiar with XDR. However, how about the other 70%? So let me kind of run through the 4 or 5 pointers that Dave and John brought up that I felt is pretty close to your heart and my heart as well. First of all, coverage. It must have native controls and security solution that covers the common spans from your endpoint, network, cloud-based workload, critical application, and even email. I think that is important so that you don't have to go out, buy different solutions, incur more costs, and have to do all the integration yourself. Next, the threat intelligence affinity has to be built in. Every alert that comes in, how do you know which one is more important? Do I have to buy another subscription of threat intel? It should come with good quality threat intel that allows immediate prioritization without the analyst or user doing a lot of customization. Third party analytics, right? Correlationship is not just based on intel. There's a lot of analytics required in looking at data from different sources, different telemetry. And if the platform provides good, proven analytic capability across different, the kill chain or different part of the kill chain, it would really make it easy for any organization, and especially the small one with limited resource. Automation, I think this is almost a must, right? Because most organizations now buy a tool, plug it in, and they do not know what to do next. If it comes with processes and automation that reduces the effort for investigation as well as IR, that itself would increase the capability of the organization for risk mitigation. And this is almost a must today compared to 1 or 2 years ago. Last but not least, we can see that analysts will want to have different view of the data of what they see, but yet be able to see their own use cases and use a single unified UI. That whole user experience is important because it allows you to train different skill, different role based on the same platform without a lot of major changes. And I would like to thank ESG as well because they see that we are one of the few vendors that can meet all these 5 requirements today, and that we have a strong, aggressive roadmap for all this enhancement. And I'll kind of show you a little bit of a pick of what we have that will give you some confident idea that the solution is out there. How does FireEye XDR differentiate? Let me start with where we came from in terms of forensic knowledge. One of our biggest strengths is our endpoint EDR. We had a lot of the frontline experience with our investigation capability, our IR consultants, that we do a lot of forensics and understand how threat actors do. That fed into the system, into product development, allow us to develop some of the best product that helps incident responder fight against all these threat actors. But we also understand that many customers want to have capability that protects the organization, the user, whether they're at home or at work or traveling. So we adopt and put in place a lot of the EPP, or we call it the protection capabilities, in our endpoint solution. However, this is only a single technology, right? When you combine with what we have, the best of breed in terms of a single platform, our network solution, I've seen customers with more than 2 million callbacks, and every single one of them blocked and protecting the customer day and night. Email with huge server farms of email protection solution, even behind Microsoft APT, and protecting the user of what was being leaked or not detected. Cloud solution that support, multi-cloud requirement from on-hybrid cloud to, different AWS, Google, or Azure. Many customers adopt not just a single cloud. Multi-cloud strategy is almost a given today. At the end, at the center of it is what we call Helix, our cloud SIEM solution that ingests all this telemetry and provide many of the capability that what we describe of a XDR platform, creating a total experience for the analysts so that they can do the job better and faster. In a nutshell, our XDR platform is a SaaS-based security threat detection and incident response platform. There are natively integrated solutions for our endpoint, network, email, cloud, and third-party security solution is definitely part of the key design point. Out of the box, we're close to 600 different, more than 600 integration, whether it be data sources, parsing rules, contextual intel, all the way to automation that allows you to leverage the platform easily when you put it in place. If you look at it from the architecture perspective, this is the Helix from the top, that does all the glue that pull everything together from investigative workflow, orchestration, automation, or the streaming and the data lake. Down below, you have the 5 key vectors that we have natively to support from endpoint, email, network, multi-cloud to detection on demand. Together with this, rock solid suite of solutions, we provide FireEye XDR solution to help speed up and solve those problems. How does it work? Let me kind of give you a quick glimpse of the solution. I give you a scenario. This is a unified view of your organization risk, right? You get alerts. It talks about the fact that the first one up here says it was not blocked, and you have a risk score that's based on the score that was assigned to the different assets. And of course, there are threats that are assigned to your job. Here you see the threat actors, you see the indicators, you see the different vectors of controls, and whether they are online, they're connected, and what is happening. Here is a trend. You want to look at a trend for anomaly across a timeline to see if there was any attack that that become more. Like for example, on the 17th September, there seems to be more critical attacks than other days. There must be a reason. Take a look at it. And assets, right? Some assets are more important than others. For example, the first one is WinN is a VIP asset for some reason. It could be a server, server system. It could be a point of sales on the third one. Let's take a look back at one example. Right? Let's look at this. And first alert is a critical alert with a scoring of 140, assigned based on different criteria. There's 2 unique alerts being triggered, and it's not a VIP asset. So you kind of the reason you're not as worried is because it's not VIP, but there were 2 alerts. So let's look at it and dig deeper into what happens. If you look at it, there's 2. One is the user Austin Power, the other one is a host name. right? It's host name of a single machine. When you follow the breadcrumbs and you take a closer look, is the original alerts came from the endpoint solution. The endpoint security solution shows you that there were two sources. One was a user alert, one was a the endpoint host. When I pulled it out, you can see that the two alert has nature of, one is a code mode strike callback, and the other one is a main ransomware. And we know both of these are common tools used by advanced threat actors, and whether they are in the financial motivated group or the nation states. And the asset factors is these three machine accounts as well. Let's look at the artifact collector. There were some alerts, there was some backdoor that was captured, and there was contained as well. So now let's move on. As we dig deeper into the alerts, we see all the data that's provided based on what has been imported into the system, into the platform. Of course, this is a more raw data view. When you look at it in a simpler view and you click into it, and look at the related assets, you see information that gives you an idea of what is it about. In this case, we also connect and use detection on demand, an API-based tool or solution that allows you to take a alert and pull and all the objects related and pull it into a sandbox in the cloud and see if there's any malicious code of the nature. Here, we can see that there are options for us to request for containment. Now that we know what happens, maybe the next step is to ensure that containment is set up so that the host will not propagate that malicious code or action. Okay, here comes a quick summary. What I've shown you is all the goodness of what XDR as a platform can do from the analyst view, from the vendor's view, from a reality of what we have delivered. I think it's important for you as a enterprise to look at consolidation of different tools into a platform that will help you cover different vectors natively, because this will give you protection of known and unknown attacks, reduce your time to integration and time to market. That this platform should be looking for ability to enrich the alerts with intel that helps your analysts prioritize what they need to work on. There should be cross-domain analytic to help you see the attack across a queue chain. Last but not least is automation to reduce some of the manual effort for threat investigation, IR, and risk mitigation. And you ask me, why is all this important? Because the only way to get from detection, protection to respond fast is when the analyst is focusing on the correct work, on the important work. And in today's context, you will never be able to hire enough analysts to do manual work. Automation, intel, analytics, high efficacy detection is a must. And if you try to do best on from different vendors, the challenge is real. So if there's a platform that gives you somebody control natively, consider that. And of course, we do that. And if you have any question and need any help, advice, please reach out to us. Thank you for your time today.